Hello, I'm Natasha Chilingarian.
And I'm Michael Ogden. This is Shared Accounts with CU Times, sponsored this month by Boost AI. Curious about how Boost AI can revolutionize your credit union? Don't just wonder, see it in action. Schedule a demo today and experience the future of member engagement firsthand. Visit Boost AI and take the leap. Okay, I found this out, did some research. Earth, Wind, and Fire and Green Day weirdly have one thing in common. Both groups had hit singles about September. One was a disco horn-filled dancing tune I used to roller skate to. Love that album. The other was so emo. Alas, I love them both so much. So that musical interlude was just my way of saying that we are in September. I got my school supplies, my A-team lunchbox, and Mom bought me a new pair of shoes. God, I wish that was still me. Sometimes I kind of miss that. Instead, I'm working in Excel spreadsheets. I'm in meetings saying words like synergy and bandwidth, and let's put a pin in that. Natasha, I got old and boring.
Yeah, it sounds like you did.
So I need your help this month with
Okay.
that. Can I make a deal? And I know you're going to be traveling and stuff, but I would like to spend the month of September not acting old, despite how much I feel it. Can you do that with me?
I suppose I could try. I don't know. What does that mean? Do we have to start using TikTok or something?
Oh God, I hope not.
Yeah,
But
I don't know.
maybe just not complaining about dumb things. I don't know. Just sometimes I do feel old, and I'm kind of tired of feeling old.
Yeah, well, hey, it happens, I mean,
It
we
does.
talked about this recently. Yeah, I've reached middle age, I
Yeah.
guess, but I still can't complain in front of any of our
Right.
other staffers because I'm still the youngest of the group. But I feel very out of touch just with
Oh, okay.
trends or I don't know. There's a lot of things where I'm like, I have no idea what this means.
Well, let's try to be the most we can be in touch in September, all right?
Let's try. Okay, that's a good
Okay,
goal. It's a good goal to have. We'll work on it.
great. So, with all the energy and
Yes.
excitement we can muster, welcome to Shared Accounts with CU Times. Coming up, we were able to sit down with NCUA Board Chairman Todd Harper. This is another guest that took some time to get on the books. He's busy and all, but we were delighted to get some time with him. I mean, seriously, this guy was great. He was so
Yeah.
nice. He was very open about a lot of things, especially the questions about his health, since he took a leave of absence to undergo back surgery earlier this year. We actually really got into that. It was very interesting. I didn't realize how bad it was. But also, we had a very clear discussion about his priorities as NCUA board chair for the rest of this year and what these things mean to credit unions. So stay tuned for that. First up, let's bring back in Natasha Han.
Hey, young M.
Hey, oh,
Oh, well,
jeez.
it's not September yet, so technically when we're recording this, but we're getting ready.
When this episode comes out, it'll be September.
For sure, yes. We might as well start
We're,
now.
spoiler alert, we record ahead of time. Anyway, how have you been? I know you are getting ready for a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm getting ready for a big trip coming up a week from this coming Monday, so
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be crazy. Yeah, I'm gonna be taking the longest flight of my life,
Mm-hmm.
14 and a half hours, so I'm headed on a four-country Southeast Asia tour in 2
Yeah.
weeks, and everyone who has heard my itinerary has been in total shock
Yeah.
and just like, "What? Like, you're insane." I'm
Oh.
like, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah. So what was it, like 11 different flights you're taking or something?
Total, yes, I counted up all the
Oh
flights.
my
I will be all the
God.
p planes. So,
Okay. I envy you. Looking forward to hearing about it.
yeah, no, I think it will be an adventure, that is for
Well.
sure. The thing is, I've been through so many travel and other situations that have gone wrong, like something
Hmm.
getting canceled or
Yeah,
just
yeah.
something getting upended. So I'm
Right.
going into it pretty much expecting it's just something is gonna,
Okay.
I don't know, go
Uh,
haywire. And so that way, maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised and it'll
I
go
hope
very
so.
smoothly.
Great. So the normal question I like to ask, what'd you watch this past week?
So I blew through well, I'm not quite done with the 2nd season yet, but I discovered another really dumb relationship reality show that I
Mhm.
started this past weekend,
Okay.
Love Off the Grid.
Don't know it.
Heard of that? Okay.
Nope.
It's like, different couples, and one half of the couple is someone who's created a life for themselves, like, just off grid, which means, like,
Uh-huh.
you don't have you're self-sustaining, you're not hooked up to any of the
Uh-huh.
city's power and water and all that. And then they have like a partner who either it's like someone they're either maybe just trying to get back together with, or they just
Mhm.
recently met online or something like that. And so then the partner who's like from the city comes into the off-grid location to see if they can make it work together and have them move there.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
One, if he or she are off grid, how the hell did they connect?
Well, they still seem to have internet somehow, so I don't know if that even qualifies as off-grid, but yeah, that's what I'm
Oh,
wondering because I mean, they're also being filmed, so that's like, all right, you're
yeah.
connected to technology, so yeah, maybe the definition of off-grid is a little
A little
gray.
squishy. Yeah.
Right, and it's funny, there was a New York Times article that came out this morning all
Mhm.
about people that live off-grid, yet they're also social media influencers.
Oh, come
Presenting their off-grid
on.
life, and it's like, well, doesn't that kinda go against the idea of being, like, away from society and recluse?
I
So
know we just said we were gonna try to not act older, but come on. These people are dumb.
this is like, yeah, we'll
This
go
is
back to the
stupid.
1800s, like,
Yeah.
why? Like, I
What are
don't
we
get why
doing?
they're like, "Oh, I just love, just living
Ugh,
off the land, and I'm
my God.
earning everything that I have
Yep.
from hard work," It's like, "What?" I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
yeah. I was actually attracted to the show in the beginning because, kind of reminded me of what I did, like, when I moved to where I'm currently living.
Mhm.
Not in the same sense, because it's obviously not off grid. I'm working a
Right.
remote job from the place and
Right.
have all the amenities, but, it's in the mountains, it's a little more of a rural area than what I'm used to.
Yep.
Yeah, that was kinda why I was, attracted to it, and I moved in my boyfriend had moved here from
Mhm.
LA, and
Yeah.
so I came it was like, "Alright, let's see if we can make it work on the mountain," and
Yeah.
it was kinda like
Right.
that, like a light version or whatever, but,
Mhm.
like, no, seeing this show, I'm realizing, "Oh, that is not how I'm actually living. It makes my current place seem much better, and I would never wanna do that." So,
Aw, you got
anyway,
some appreciation out of it.
I did, yeah, yeah, it's all
Okay.
about
Cool.
perspective.
Okay.
Did you watch anything interesting this past week?
You know what? I wanna bring up something different very quickly.
Sure.
I have been watching something, but it's been my body being bitten by spiders,
Oh,
and
boy.
it's
Ooh,
driving me nuts. I have been bitten 3 times by spiders in the last, like, month and a half.
God.
I don't know what is
What's going
happening that
on?
nature is coming after me like this,
Now,
but
is this happening indoors, do you think, or have you been spending a lot of time outside?
I believe 2 were indoors, 1 was out.
Okay.
Like, just very dumb. This is stupid. But my right leg, yeah, my right leg was the first. The second one was my earlobe while I was
Ooh.
asleep,
Oh, god. Oh,
and
that's
then
just
it swelled up.
disturbing.
I was like, "No, I have to light everything on fire now. This is crazy." And then on my left hand, the top of my left hand is the most recent one. And I'm like, "What am I doing? Do I have sexy spider perfume on? What's
Maybe, or
happening?
yeah, they're
Ooh la la, this guy smells good."
well, yeah,
Anyway,
maybe.
that's what I've been
But
watching.
that's
Just
so
all these
creepy, especially the earlobe thing, because it's like now you're picturing that you're laying there asleep and there's a spider crawling on your ear, like, I don't
Exactly.
wanna think about that.
Exactly. It's gross and
That's
terrifying.
terrifying, I
I don't
know.
like
Oh,
it.
I'm so sorry. That's just well, I
Ah,
can relate. I mean, living in the mountain, there are all kinds
sure.
of bugs and critters, and
Yep.
I've had to get to a point where I just tune it out and don't care. Like, sometimes I'll see a spider and
Mhm.
I just won't bother killing it. I'll be like, "Oh, okay.
Right. Yep.
Alright. I
I
guess
hate
this
it.
is we live together now."
Okay,
Well, I'm
great.
sorry about that. I hope you can, find a remedy.
It'll be fine.
But, yes, let's move on to our interview.
Let's.
This was a big one for us.
Yeah.
Getting Todd Harper, it was very, very we were very excited.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said earlier, what a sweet guy. I mean, just so down to earth and
Mhm.
relatable, approachable. I appreciated that he gave us a very transparent update with his health.
I was if I could just pause
Yeah,
for a real quick second, and again, listeners, you're gonna hear the full discussion here. He went into more detail. I had no idea it was that bad
yeah.
or that specifically potentially dangerous at the time, but I was glad he shared it, but at the same time, I was like, "Oh my god, I'm sorry." But I'm glad he's better.
Yeah, no, me too. We'll get into more in the interview, but
Yep.
My boyfriend had a similar surgery 7 years
Oh,
ago, and
yeah.
that was like it was like a spinal fusion for herniated discs in his neck.
Mhm.
Just terrifying.
Ugh.
I'm sure he went to a very good surgeon and,
It sounds
did a
like he
good
did.
job. I really appreciated that, and, he talked about how it's good for leaders to be open about stuff like that, and it's
Mhm.
actually strengthening as opposed to weakening. Some might think, "Oh, I don't wanna talk about my struggles because it makes me look weak," but it's like, "Well, no,
Yeah,
let's
he
be
was
open
great.
about it." Yeah. So, yeah, he talked about that. He also discussed all of his priorities coming up at the NCUA, and he even took us back to his roots in small town Indiana, where his deep appreciation of credit unions really began, which was an
Mm.
interesting story. So we have all of that coming up next.
Hey, listeners. Today's episode is brought to you by Boost AI, the leader in conversational AI for credit unions. Boost AI is your secret weapon for unbeatable member service. Want a sneak peek into the future? Who doesn't? Mention the Shared Accounts with CU Times podcast when you talk to Boost AI, and they'll give you a customized demo. That's right. Mention this podcast, Shared Accounts with CU Times, when you talk to Boost AI, and they will create a customized demo for you. Don't settle for ordinary. Experience the extraordinary with Boost AI.
Joining us in the virtual studio today is NCUA Board Chairman Todd Harper. Todd, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you. All right, Todd, I was going to call you Chairman Harper, but I like how leading up to this you preferred to go on a first name basis. So I'm going to go ahead and call you Todd.
Please do.
Okay, so just jumping right in here. So, since February 2019, you've been serving on the NCUA board and you became chairman in January 2021 during those very strange days of the pandemic that we all don't look back too fondly on. So, first question here, would you say that your life has changed since becoming chairman of the NCUA board? And if so, how has it?
So, certainly it has changed. And certainly living today, having started on the board in 2019, it's two very different worlds.
Mm,
The first is the pandemic changed how we work. We learned
Mhm.
how to work from home, we learned how to work remotely.
mm,
I would say that one of the most difficult things for me going through the pandemic was how do you sustain culture and organizational interdependence when people aren't in person and interacting?
Right.
Certainly, ways we did that within the NCUA is I would always take time at the start of meetings and calls just to check in with people and have them. But the difference between being a board member and being chairman, we all have the same one vote on the board.
mm.
Right.
There's no difference between us. The real difference is the interagency responsibilities and the leadership responsibilities. I've had a chance to lead the Federal Financial Institutions Examination Council for 2 years
Mhm.
since becoming the NCUA board chairman. I've also been able, to participate in the Financial Stability Oversight Council. We have also the FIBIC, the federal banking group that looks at matters related to cybersecurity. And then, FinCEN, we're regularly in contact with FinCEN. So there are much more interactions. So I would say I'm much more scheduled as chairman than I am as a
Right.
board member, but it's always a challenging job.
So, Todd, we wanted to have you on here, and I'm so glad you are. We're really excited to have this conversation because you and the board are working through a lot of things. But I really want to ask about this year so far for you because personally, it's been a newsworthy year for you, especially with you taking leave of absence, which was newsworthy in itself. But the question is, and this is a genuine question, how are you? Are you feeling better? Are you recovered?
Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
First of all, I am doing a heck of a lot better than where I was. And, leave of absence maybe have been too strong of a term for
Mm.
us to use. For those who don't know, I had two cervical discs replaced at the base of my neck.
Oh,
Oh,
Basically,
wow.
the discs had collapsed and I was in tremendous pain. And I really had no choice but to have surgery. I was
yeah.
fortunate that the vertebrae themselves were still strong enough that
Okay.
we could do a disc replacement as opposed to a disc fusion.
Okay.
And in those first, I would say, week or two after the surgery, I was checking in with the agency's chief of staff on a
Hmm.
daily basis to just keep abreast of the most important issues. And by another, after 2 weeks, I was checking email and I was starting to gradually grow as my stamina increased and my pain meds, of course, went down.
Mhm.
And at this point in time, I'd say I'm back to 90% of where I
Okay.
was.
All right.
One of the reasons why I wanted to be public and talk about it is I think that there's a habit that leaders always have to say that they're strong
Yeah.
and that they
Yeah.
hide their lives. To me, I think it's actually a position of strength to share your struggles. And it's
Hmm.
also to
Yeah.
normalize the process.
Hmm.
Certainly, there have been leaders who have fought cancer. There have been other leaders who have had other
Hmm.
massive health issues that they've had to go through. We need to be compassionate. We need to show our staffs and lead by example and say it's okay to take some time down. And that's what I did here. I took some time down as I could do my work. I got better, and it's been really a great experience overall.
And again, genuinely, I say this, I appreciate those words tremendously. We do cover the news a few times, but we honestly give a crap about the people we cover.
I know you do.
And so I appreciate you sharing that with us. That's a short way of saying it. So thank you, Todd. I'm glad
No,
you're better.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's great to be better. It's actually what I'm really enjoying is coming into the office and not being in pain driving the car
Oh,
and being able to bend my neck again.
oh
When
my
we sit at
gosh.
computers all day long and look at our iPhones all day long,
Hmm.
mine was probably what they call tech neck, and the disc
Mm,
had just degenerated to the point where they could no longer work.
my goodness.
No.
Yeah.
Well, so I was going to just mention my partner, he actually had a spinal fusion surgery. It's been 7 years now, but that was a very, very intense surgery for him. So kind of understand how scary that can be, but so happy to hear you're on the mend now. Really
Yeah.
glad to hear that. Yeah. Okay, so let's switch gears at another topic we wanted to ask you about. So, in recent months, Navy Federal Credit Union took over the overseas military banking program. And we actually recently spoke with the new CEO, Dietrich Coleman, about the insurance issue for this community bank, as they're calling it. And Dietrich initially said he wanted the NCUA's share insurance fund to insure those accounts, but eventually he backed off of the idea. So there's been a lot of confusion around this issue. So we wanted to get your understanding of it. So, what, from your perspective, what happened here between Navy Federal and the NCUA on this insurance issue?
So, certainly, first of all, I think it's important that our men and women who operate overseas on military bases and their families have access to banking services. And the Department of Defense has a program in which the Overseas Military Banking Program to help facilitate that. We also certainly have a number of federal credit unions that serve overseas military bases themselves. When the issue was presented to us, we went and we looked carefully at the act. And the act says that in order for us to provide insurance, you have to be a member of the credit union. Well, here, Navy Federal was acting as a servicer and they weren't memberizing the individual. So they weren't
Hmm.
eligible for insurance that way. There's a second way in which Navy Federal Credit Union could obtain federal insurance, and that is if it were to become a low income credit union. Low income credit unions mean at least 80% of your membership earns 80% or less of the area median income. Certainly, there are a lot of young enlisted individuals in the military. If you are a low income credit union, the Federal Credit Union Act says that you can provide insurance to non members, in which case they could operate this program and provide insurance to non members. Navy Federal Credit Union made the decision not to declare itself a low income credit union and sought another option.
Hmm.
Certainly, the Defense Department, it runs this program, it sets the parameters for insurance. And my understanding is that there was an agreement that the private insurance was a suitable alternative, at least for this first year of the program.
Yeah, Dietrich actually said, you know what, once I felt the a little irritation coming from the industry, I was like, I'm going to let the DOD fight this one. And so he moved on,
Yeah.
kind of how he put it.
Yeah.
So, Todd, I really want to talk about Todd Harper's priorities because we are sliding out of summer, and I really want to know what you are focused on as far as your priorities at the NCUA board for the rest of 2024 and maybe even bleeding over into 25.
Absolutely. I would say that there are several priorities that I'm focused on between now and the end of the year. The
Okay.
first of those priorities is succession planning. We passed at our last board meeting a revised proposed rule on succession planning. We
Hmm.
had done one when I first became chairman of the board. When you look at the reasons for credit unions merging, it's often listed number one or number two as a lack of succession planning. And it's
Yeah.
especially true at small credit unions. And I'm applying my hat here. Before my life on the NCUA board, I served as a board member and an officer of a nonprofit in the District of Columbia.
Mhm.
And our annual budget was about $600,000 a year at that point in time. And the board said we needed to write a succession plan because we had a founder who was thinking about starting to get ready and move on to find the next great thing for her to do. And we went through a process. It took approximately 3 months. I actually led the process. It took me maybe 20 hours total
Mhm.
to do. And we wrote a succession plan. And when that individual decided to leave, there was a plan and a process in place for replacing that individual. And we saw another nonprofit in the very same sector that we were operating in also make the decision to leave. And that organization folded because it didn't have a succession plan.
Mhm.
Succession planning, one of the things we're seeing with small credit unions is you get that manager in there who's been there for 20, 30, or even 40 years. And
Yep.
she makes the decision that it's time to retire. Well, the board has not been keeping up in track as what's happening in compensation. And so they suddenly find that they've been paying their CEO $60,000 a year, and it really is going to be another $40,000 a year, so a total of $100,000 to attract quality talent. And they realize that
Mhm.
the economics don't work. Having a succession plan can help them keep them focused today on what they need to do tomorrow. Or it can also help them, too, quite frankly, if they lose somebody immediately, they know what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. For example, are
Mhm.
they going to have a partnership with a larger credit union that can step in and help manage while they search for that talent? The intent behind this rule is really to help more small credit unions stay around. Bigger credit unions need to have more complex plans. They probably
Yeah.
do a better job overall. But I will say this, in 2023, we did a review of succession planning. And what we found is that in 1 in 4 credit unions, either was no succession plan in place or an
Mhm.
inadequate succession plan. So that's a real problem that we needs to be addressed and looked at. I'll stop there if you've got a question.
I do have a very quick comment for you because yesterday, ahead of our conversation today, I took a look because of you had mentioned the proposed rule, succession planning rule that you all passed. I took a look at the comments in the Federal Register because as of this recording, comments are still open.
Sure.
And there were only four
Yep.
listed so far. All of them, except for one weird one, they were all for this and were very happy that this was being pushed. And I do want to mention one other thing in our reporting. We have noticed already credit unions publicizing their succession planning.
Oh, that's good to know.
Thought that was an interesting switch that has been flipped. So
Yeah.
I thought I'd pass that along.
Yeah, no, thank you. I had not seen that, and that's actually helpful to hear. Certainly on the first proposal, we had a number in favor, we had a number of against, we had a number of people who had all sorts of suggestions. And rulemaking takes time in order to get the right balance and to get to the right place. And I hope
Yeah.
that we're getting closer to the right place. I'd say another priority, certainly that
Hmm.
we're focused on, is the incentive based compensation rule. This is a rule that was required by the Dodd Frank Act, where it
Right.
says that the NCUA, along with 5 other regulators, has to develop either regulation or guidelines to deal with incentive compensation. And we know during the great financial crisis back in 2007, 8, and 9, that there were people
Hmm.
that were incented to do the wrong things for the long term health of their institution. We also know that just as recently as last year, Silicon Valley Bank executives were getting paid out huge sums of money, which were
Yeah.
not aligned with the incentives of the organization. Now, in the credit union space, we see less of an incentive compensation, but the law says that if you are an institution that is $1 billion or more, we've got to develop these rules. And we developed a tiered program that credit unions between one and, if I remember correctly, $50 billion
Yeah.
have a certain set of standards. And then as you grow in size, you have additional standards added to you. I think that this should be low hanging fruit. It's also long overdue. Congress passed the Dodd Frank Act back in 2010. I
Hmm.
actually happened to work on this provision when it became law. It's 2014. 14 years is long enough to wait. The American people want fat cats, senior executives, and wrongdoers held accountable for any
Yeah.
irresponsible damage. And they want to have that money clawed back. And that credit union members should want the same because it helps to protect them, their accounts, and quite frankly, the share insurance fund.
Any other priorities you would like to list, even bleeding over into 25?
Well, it's certainly one that you'll never get me to stop talking about.
Oh, I know what it is. Can I guess?
In the great Karnak of the back in Johnny Carson days, the Tonight
Yes,
Show, put the envelope to your turban, and what is it there?
third party vendor authority.
You're right.
All
It is
right.
a growing regulatory blind spot.
It is.
Yeah.
I agree.
To me, not only is it a growing regulatory blind spot, we have more than 90% of the credit union industry's assets are touched by third party vendors. Just last year, we had an outage of a vendor, a core processor
Mm,
vendor, which had a ransomware attack. And that resulted in approximately 60 credit unions that using that particular vendor not being
yeah.
able to do their core services for weeks on end. We were at a loss because we, unlike the other banking agencies, which have the ability to go in and do vendor authority. And by the way, 29 states also have vendor authority. So this is not a radical idea. We didn't have the ability to go in and examine. All we could do was we could make phone calls. We could go up and knock on the door. In fact, they wouldn't
Yep.
return our phone calls. We had to drive up and knock on the door to try and get information. It was slow going. Now, admittedly, that was an instance that affected small credit unions, totaling in assets of almost $1 billion and about 100,000 members. But that's just the
Hmm.
tip of the iceberg. Imagine if a much larger institution that was servicing and core processors, and we have a few key, very large core processors, were to have a problem with cybersecurity. That creates real risks for the system. I will say this, our inspector general looked at this issue a few years ago, Michael, and
Hmm.
it found that between 2008 and 2015, 9 QSOs contributed to material losses to the share insurance fund, causing losses at 24 credit unions, some of which failed. Ultimately, the share insurance fund paid out $300 million. So my question is if you're a credit union, do you want to pay a little bit more for regulation now so that we can prevent those problems? Or do you want to have a premium charge to you at a time when you may not want to have a premium charge to you to pay up to the share insurance fund? That's just common sense that you want to
Yeah.
be prepared today for tomorrow. The last thing is credit unions are at a competitive disadvantage right now. If you are a bank and you are using a vendor or you are considering using a vendor, and if the banking regulator that oversees you has done an examination, they provide a summary report. You can use that for due diligence. Imagine
Hmm.
what it's like if us coming in to kick the tires and to check on things. Wouldn't you be making a better decision? And why should a banker have a better decision to make than a credit union executive?
Yeah. I'll say one thing in support of this. It is frustrating on our end watching time and again the ransomware attacks, the hacks, the breaches, and nothing is being done. I find it silly to watch
Yeah,
that it just keeps happening.
yeah.
Okay. Well, Todd, no, thank you so much for all of that and just summarizing all of your priorities heading into next year. But it is now time to move on to part two of our interview. This is the fun portion because it's all about the non work version of you.
Ah,
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So you're from Indiana, correct?
I am from Indiana.
Okay.
Yep.
What is your hometown?
So my hometown is a place called Hammond, Indiana.
Okay.
It is in the extreme northwest corner of the state, and
Oh,
there
wow.
were 13 houses closer to downtown Chicago than the house I grew up in Indiana.
Oh,
Oh, my goodness.
I was right on the state line, right by Lake Michigan.
Wow.
if you had to create a motto for your hometown, what would it be?
I would actually say that it's the city that can.
Oh,
Oh,
Hammond is in an industrial town. It was a
hmm,
regional shopping center in the 50s and into the 60s. It had some difficult times as heavy industry closed in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But
hmm,
I see some hope for rebirth in the city. The city was one of the first places in Indiana that had gambling, and they used those monies to rebuild public infrastructure. There's also right now a process going where the train is being extended from downtown Chicago, the South Shore Line, to go into downtown Hammond and then into
hmm,
South Lake County. That's creating
yeah,
tremendous opportunities for redevelopment of what was once a thriving retail center to becoming a thriving residential neighborhood with an arts district. And so I think that there's a lot of hope for Hammond. And so I'd say it's the city that can.
very
nice.
nice.
Yeah. I like that story. I mean, that kind of fits with the credit union mission. Actually, just thinking of, you being from a town like that, probably able
Yeah.
to relate to the average credit union member. So,
Natasha, I don't know if you guys know this, but my mom is a secret shopper for her credit union, which happens
oh,
to have its offices in Hammond, Indiana.
oh wow.
Okay.
My dad started a teachers credit union in 1967,
Oh
and
wow.
his dad started a soap factory credit union also in Hammond back in the 1930s. So to me, it's personal and I can see it.
Sure.
I've talked to credit unions in Hammond and a kid who wanted to start a lawn mowing business, and they provided the loan for a lawnmower. A lawnmower,
Wow.
not
That's a
Uh-huh.
small
you
loan.
know,
Yeah.
it's a small loan, but it changed the trajectory of his life, and he now has a thriving landscaping business where
Great.
they
I love
helped
that.
the individual purchase their first semi truck.
Wow.
It's changing a life, and now there's a fleet of trucks. I can see
Nice.
what credit unions can do and relate to that.
Yeah, oh, that's what it's all about. Okay, so next question, we're also going to go back to your early days, back when you were possibly still living in this hometown. What was your
Yep.
first ever job, ever paid job? It could be a summer job or an after school job.
Sure. So my first job was I was a newspaper boy.
Oh,
I
okay.
inherited the route from my older brother. I delivered the Chicago Sun-Times, the Chicago Tribune, and one Wall Street Journal. And the Wall Street
Uh,
Journal went to Mr. Weiner, who was the grocer in town.
Ah,
uh,
And it was about 36 papers a day that I delivered. And I did that job for 8 years.
Wait, 8 years? When did you start?
I started at age 11.
Oh my
wow.
gosh.
Oh, that's so cute.
And I got a Sun-Times scholarship to go to college as a result of that.
Wait, did people like give you gifts when it was like your last route?
No, but you
No?
learn in the
Okay.
newspaper boy business
Yeah.
when it comes a Christmas card time,
Yeah.
you put a Christmas card envelope in every newspaper, and it's actually
Oh,
how I
right.
would get extra tips at Christmas.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that is awesome. Okay, Todd, what was the first album you ever bought or remember listening to regularly?
I kind of want to do a dual answer on that, Michael.
Please, whatever you want.
The first album I bought was with my brother, my older brother, and it was the soundtrack to Grease.
Oh, nice.
And I listened to that a lot.
Awesome.
But the first album that I ever bought with my own money, it was The Police, Ghost in the Machine.
Oh my
Back
God, I
in
love that album.
it's an amazing album. I mean, every little thing she does is magic.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Spirits in the material world. Michael, there was once where we had a hearing on Capitol Hill,
hmm
and I got to weave into Paul Konjarsky's opening statement about the ghost in the machine, about how the
hmm
markets had crashed, and I was really pulling back to that first album that I bought.
I recall the hearing. I marked it in my notes, just so you know. I have rated Ghost in the Machine, and this is true,
Yeah,
as the best cooking album. I love it
Hmm,
when I cook.
really.
It's great.
I'm gonna have to try that.
Please let me know.
Will do.
Oh,
nice.
it's so good.
Yeah,
It's so good.
yeah.
Okay, thank you
Okay.
for sharing that. That's wonderful. Grease is great too.
Yeah, I was definitely excited you mentioned that. That was one of my early I was a dancer all growing up and did dance competitions, and so we did quite a few Grease numbers. So much fun. So,
Yeah.
okay, Todd, final question here. What was the last movie that you watched?
The last movie that I watched, I was lucky as in my recovery from the surgery. I got to watch a
Mhm.
lot of movies and I
Oh,
actually
yeah.
watched a couple of television series. The last movie I watched is Grosse Point Blank,
Okay.
just this past
Oh,
weekend.
yeah.
I was fortunate to watch it on Turner Classic Movies, and Ryan Reynolds did the introduction, and
Oh.
he did a spectacular job because it's a romantic comedy,
hmm
slash and Burnham type of horror flick,
Yeah.
and it's nostalgic, all thrown into the same one, going to your 10th year reunion. The movie hits home for me, especially though, because it
hmm
was the class of 86 coming back for their high school reunion, and I was the class of 86. So the soundtrack
Yeah.
to that movie is just stuck in my mind.
John Cusack, Minnie Driver. Does the movie still hold up to you?
You know what? I think that the energy between the two of them as leads, I mean, Minnie Driver is the most normal person in that movie, if
Yes.
you will, but it's infectious. I think that the movie holds up very well.
Oh, that is great to hear.
All right. And then final thing here, Todd, if people want to connect with you, our readers, where was the best place for them to find you? What would you say to them?
So I would say one of two ways. The first way is the informal way. I, like almost every professional in America, has a LinkedIn account. My rule is if you are part of the credit union industry, I accept your invitation. And so they can connect with me on LinkedIn. Alternatively, the more formal way, especially if they want to schedule or meet with me, is through my general email, and that is BM as in board member Harper, all one word, BM Harper at ncua.gov.
Okay, excellent. Well, NCUA Board Chairman Todd Harper, thank you so much for coming on with us today. Really means a lot that you spend a little bit of time out of your busy schedule with us. Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
My pleasure. Keep up the great work. I enjoy reading you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Appreciate that. And for all of our listeners, please subscribe to Shared Accounts with CU Times, anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, wherever. You know how this works. And if you want to rate us, we would love your feedback. And for those of you with questions or comments, feel free to email me over at nchilangarian@cutimes.com, or you can email Michael at mogden@cutimes.com.
Also, thank you to Boost AI for sponsoring the podcast this month. Transform your operations while you're members and leave your competition in the dust. Boost AI, because ordinary is just not good enough. I want to say a special thank you to Joe Adamoli for helping us set this interview up with Todd. Also, thank you to our producer, Zach Nyheisel. Thanks, Zach. Join us again next week for a new episode of Shared Accounts with CU Times. Until then, thanks for listening.